Shalom everyone, and we are in Parashat Bo in the book of Shemot, Exodus. You can find it in the book of Exodus chapter 10, verse 1. ויאמר השם אל משה, בוא אל פרעה, כי אני הכבדתי את ליבו ואת לב עבדיו. And here, in order to understand the context, of course, we have to understand what is this parasha? This is basically the story of the last 3 of the 10 plagues, and especially that plague of the firstborn, which basically killed all the firstborns of Egypt, and the Israelites, at the end of it, they are free to leave their bondage in Egypt, and the years of slavery are over. Now the question, how is that connected to us? And there's some surprising concepts that we need to delve into. The first thing is, let's go back again to the description of this time of the year that is called ShOVaVYM, which means those weeks that we are reading the parashot of the Exodus, especially this year, 5782, which is a leap year, and therefore, in the Hebrew calendar, we have 13 months. We have Adar 2 in this year, and the ShOVaVYM extends from 6 to 8 weeks. So it's starting with Parashat Shemot, then VaEra, this week Parashat Bo, and we have 5 more weeks to go. And what we learn from the Kabbalists about these special weeks, that there's a special universal cosmic option, that it's easier during these weeks to do our own journey of fighting our own slavery, because we are all slaves to our tikkun, which means some more and some less. We all have our addictions. We all have, and these addictions could be fears, could be all kinds of post-trauma, pain, confusion, all kinds of concepts that we are stuck in, that but because of that we cannot manifest our potential, all kinds of addictions to who knows what. You all know what I'm talking about. You know, we are humans, and we have body desires and lusts and stuff that if we do not have it, or if we learn how to transform it, then our lives is going to be much, much better on a much higher frequency, and our potential, the true potential, can be manifested. So during these weeks that are called ShOVaVYM, and in Hebrew, shovav means somebody that behaves like a kid without any responsibility, which means this is the time we can correct all kind of moves, decisions, behavior, patterns that we have in our lives, that we are not taking responsibility for our destiny. Now, in the previous parasha, Parashat VaEra, we learned how important it is for every person in order to achieve freedom to work on their own. Every person needs to work on their own consciousness of the relationships we have with the Creator. Now, and we said the name of these parashot, it's ShOVaVYM, but it's starting with the book of Exodus, or in Hebrew, Shemot. Shemot means names, the book of names. And we learned during the last 2 parashot, the previous parashot, how the names of God basically star as the main issue of this parashot. Is it the name of God that represents judgment, like Elohim? Is it the name that represents mercy, which is the Tetragrammaton, the Yud-K-Vav-K? Okay, all of those names that we are talking about each one of them represent another aspect, another way that our consciousness is connecting to reality. And the names of God that are in those parashot, of course, all over the Torah and the Tanakh, but the names of God are the vehicles for us to transform any reality into a higher reality. And that's what we are doing here as human beings, because what does it mean, a higher reality? We are here in this world as human beings in a physical body. And the physical body is purposely designed to be basically kind of our, in a way, an enemy, a jail, a slavery place, because the soul is in bondage in a narrow place called Meitzar or Meitzarim. In Hebrew, Mitzrayim is Egypt. And Paro symbolize also the dark side of every human being. Pharaoh. In Hebrew, Pharaoh is the same part, Ha'oref, on one hand, in the many traditional texts, it says Ha'oref is the back, the neck. And, you know, when he says somebody is stubborn and he does not learn, does not transform, does not change, does not evolve, we say it's somebody with a stiff neck, okay? Also, Paro is the same letters in Hebrew as Hafra'ah. Hafra'ah, that is disturbance. And the body's job is to disturb, so we can overcome. By the way, disturbance, to disturb, there's another word in Hebrew, which is Satan. Satan, is also from the same family of words as Hafra'ah. Satan, it's the same family of words that mean how to delay, to disturb, to deter, to block, and to prevent something good from happening. Or in another word, judgment. Judgment to delay the good from happening. Our job, and that's the only job human being has, every human being has, is to transform the judgment into mercy, to take any disturbance, any delay, any blockage, and instead of allowing it to upset us, to manage the day, they manage the schedule, manage to be the manager of the whole event, we are supposed to use it as a tool to transform. But there's something I want to read from the Zohar, Rabbi Ashlag's words, of last week's that is a major key. We didn't have time last week to go into it, but it's a major key study for understanding what we're going through. And we were learning that the whole concept of the deliverance from Egypt and redemption is about delivering the consciousness, V'yidatem ki Hashem hu Elokim. And you should know that Hashem, Youdkevitch, that is when a human being feels God as endless, unconditional love with smiling face and a laughing heart, as we read last week from the Or Chaim HaKadosh. When a person feels that God is with him with love and excitement and happiness, and then you can transform any judgment. And, you know, if you, like, as we learn, any child, if you have, as a child that has parents, teachers, grown-ups around, trainers who always believe in their child with love, unconditional love, any child with any problem has a better chance to achieve greatness because of that love. Now, a lot of children did not have it. So they become grown-ups with that lack of, you know, nobody loved me, nobody trusted me, nobody supported me, or let's say they didn't support me enough. Okay, you know, how many years can you go on with that nonsense? I'm not saying it's a nonsense, but it's nonsense in a way. You grow up and you have right now your greatest teacher and coach, the Creator himself, walking with you with love, happiness, and support, unconditional support and love. Just do it. And as it says in the Zohar, if people knew how much love the Creator has for each one of us, we would just jump into any challenge with yells and screams like lions and leopards, with excitement like soldiers that just breathe that love and excitement of charging into the war like there's nothing else in the world. And that's what the Zohar is saying. If we just knew that, the point is that we are incapable of containing so much love, and therefore we need to achieve it slowly through our steps out of bondage, out of slavery. And now, why is it so important to achieve that consciousness of mercy, that consciousness that we know that behind the scenes, behind all the disturbances, all the challenges, all the blockages, all the problems, there is a loving God that is everywhere around us and inside us, that is supporting us. Because, says Rabbi Ashlag, about how important it is. It says that every time when we are praying every day, every time that we simply perform the mitzvot. What does it mean, mitzvot? We do whatever we do with the consciousness that we do that in order to bring the light of the Creator into his creation. And that's our job as human beings, because we are the only creature that is capable of doing that, not animals and not angels, only we human beings, that we are a combination of a soul inside a body, and that's the only creature that has a soul in a body that has that ability to bring the holiness into simple stuff like food. You know, you can sanctify your food, you can sanctify your home, you can sanctify your body, you can sanctify your actions, because you are a human being that is a composition of heaven and earth. And that's our job. Now, every action like this, every prayer, meditation, every blessing that we do over the food, every time that we do, we light Shabbat candles, all of those actions that we do, then Rabbi Ashlag explains, we bring down the light of Da'at. When we do it with that consciousness, not because it's a religion. God told us and we have to do it. Why do we have to do it? He wants so. I don't understand what he's saying. A lot of religious people, they do it because they're being told to do it since they were kids. But are you doing it to bring in the supreme knowledge, the supreme wisdom, the supreme light? Every time we do that, we bring in what is called that, which is connection and knowledge, but it's higher than that. It's a connection between the upper and the lower worlds. Now, says Rabbi Ashlag, without bringing those forces of that to ourselves, there's no way the Israelites could believe or have faith in God, although they saw all the 10 plagues, okay? They wouldn't be able to see it as miracles. The question is like this: the Egyptians, they saw the 10 plagues too. How come didn't all Egyptians get up and say, they're going to meet with God and we're not, let's join them? The Egyptians stayed in Egypt. Why? And the answer is, if you do not have that force that is called that you bring it down when you pray, when you bless, when you perform all kinds of actions of charity, and all of that is to bring the supernal light of the creation, the light of God, the light of the heavens, and to instill it and inject it into your actions. Okay? When you do that, not just that you bring the magic into your life, you change the interface of your brain. That's called that. And then you are capable of seeing miracles. Otherwise, you see witchcraft, says Rabbi Ashlag. Otherwise, you see, oh, that's a probability. That's it happened by a chance. You cannot see a miracle unless you're ready for that. I'm telling that story like, two people can see the same thing and have a total different reaction. Many years ago, I was driving, was in Florida on the highway, and I was driving north towards Palm Beach, and something happened. The car was not really stable. I was driving very fast because it's a highway, and I was on the 5th lane, the fastest lane, and something happened. I did the wrong move, and the car started to, like a dreidel, it started to go around itself. We're talking about like 55 miles an hour. Okay, no, it was 65 miles an hour. Okay, hundreds of vehicles around me, and my car is like going like this, like spinning around itself. And slowly, my brain is like going slow and stay calm, trust the light. It's going to be okay. And I'm going like this, spinning from the 5th lane to the 4th lane to the 3rd lane to the 2nd lane to the 1st lane. And then I realize it's going back. And how long could that go through? And something tells me if you hit the side of another car slightly, you'll be able to stop the spinning. I don't know how I did it, but I hit another car on the side and the spinning stopped. There was a bump on that car's passenger side, and also on my car's side, but it was slow. It was a little, and my car started to stop spinning, and I slowed down and I went off the road. The guy that I hit, he went off the road also. And he was next to me. He came out. His wife, who's sitting in the passenger seat, came out also. And she was so upset because she was hit next on the door next to her. Nothing happened to both of them. Nothing happened to me. And she started to scream at me and yell at me. I'm standing there like, thank God I'm alive. Wow, what a miracle. It was, wow. And I was like, I didn't care. She could scream and yell. I was just floating and happy that I'm alive and nothing really happened. And after a few, I don't remember how long she was screaming and yelling and cursing me. Her husband screamed at her, shut up. Didn't you see what's going on over here? He was spinning like this. There were hundreds of cars around us. Nobody was hurt. There could be like hundreds of casualties in such a case. And it's a miracle we are alive. What do you want? What happened to you? And he shut it up. Two people experiencing the same thing. One is upset and sees only dark and negativity, and they're upset and cursing and yelling and so on and blaming. And the other one is like, he was also so thankful that nothing happened and nobody was injured. So it's a car, something is a scratch on the door. That's the point. The Egyptians did not see the miracles. They saw black magic stronger than their black magic. They saw a duel between Moses and Aaron. They saw them as magicians, wizards. They were stronger than Pharaoh. They lost. Okay, the Egyptians lost because they didn't have a strong magic enough to fight the magic of Moses and Aaron. Nothing changed. Why is that important? Because whatever we see, we know right now that it doesn't matter what is it that we see. What matters is how do we process the information in order to be a free human being. You need to be consistently bringing in that force that is called Da'at. How do you do it? When you study the Torah, when you read the Zohar, when you pray, when you train yourself every time you are doing something that looks like it's physical, shopping, buying, selling, giving charity, knowing that everything has to be done by the laws of the Torah in order to inject God's light into what you're doing. Because if you don't do that, you do not bring down the Da'at. And when you don't have Da'at, in Hebrew, somebody without Da'at, Chasrei Da'at, means that you are mentally incapable. Chasar Da'at means that you are incapable of dealing with life, incapable of understanding what's going on. You think you know because you have a PhD in math, in science, or in doesn't matter what other, or psychology, but you basically Chasar Da'at. You are lacking that, and doesn't matter how many miracles you see around you, you will not be able to see the miracle. You will not be able to see God in everything that around you and inside you. This is the most important thing. So this is the major point of the whole book of Shemot, because if you're not achieving that, you can never be redeemed, because you cannot redeem somebody who has no da'at. Can you redeem somebody who's mentally retarded? No, it's impossible. Okay? So without that, it doesn't matter your IQ, you are basically chasar da'at, because you have no idea, you have no ability to see God in every day's life. So, go back. So here we're coming to this parasha, Parashat Bo. And it says, and God says to Moses, Bo el Paro, come to Pharaoh. And we are talking in this parasha about the last 3 plagues. Why? Because, let's go back. Why is that people are lacking that? In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. And finally, there were Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden. And they were told not to eat from the tree of that knowledge till they'll be ready for it. Okay? So they were supposed to climb up the levels of the sfirot of the tree of life. And when they acquire enough power of the tree of life, they will be able to connect to the tree of knowledge. They ate from the tree of knowledge prematurely. They were not ready yet. The result was the fall of Adam. The whole world collapsed, and they lost the da'at. They lost their ability to see the harmony in the universe, and instead came out the power of the snake, Satan, or Satan, or Pharaoh, or Egypt. It doesn't matter how you call it. You can call it even Stephen or Cindy. It doesn't matter. This is the power that blocks our ability to see reality the way it is. And our job is mostly bringing in the da'at, so when we have that da'at, we'll be able to see reality properly. Then, what does it mean? When you have a da'at, you are sane. Nothing hurts you. Nothing scares you. You don't go into hysterical moods or stuff like this because you can see the big picture. That's called freedom. That's called freedom from the angel of death. This is the the big goal of the whole process we're going through. How do we know? At the end of the whole process of these readings that we are talking about, ShOVaVYM Tat, Moses is coming down with the second tablets, and it says that it's written, the writing is written on the tablets, but the way it's written in Hebrew, it says, V'aktav charut al haluchot. Charut, the immediate thinking is charut means engraved on the stone tablets. But the sages are saying it does not say charut because it says chet resh vav taf, not chet resh vav tet. Charut, engraved, chet resh vav tet. But it says chet resh vav tav. These are the letters that are written in the Torah. Chet resh vav tav means freedom. Freedom on the tablets. So the sages are saying, asking, freedom from what? Freedom from the angel of death. Which means when we have that level, that force that is called da'at, daled ayin taf, in Hebrew, da'at, somehow it's knowledge, but when you have da'at, there's no translation into English. When we have da'at, we are free. Nothing will kill us anymore. Why? We are not scared anymore. We can see the big picture. Even when we see something that is negative, we know it's negative, it's judgment, so we can transform it into mercy. And by this, we conquer another dimension. We expand to a higher level of consciousness, and we become bigger, more powerful human beings. So instead of seeing the pain, the blockage, the problem, the delay as something that scares us, as something that manages us, we see it as a raw material for success. This is that, okay? So now we can understand how the Zohar opens in Parashat Bo, and it says, ויאמר השם למשה בוא אל פרעה. Okay, that's what we read. רבי יהודה פתח ואמר. This is verse 1 in the Zohar HaSulam of Parashat Bo. אשרי העם יודעי תרועה, אדוני באור פניך יהלכו. Happy are the people that know יודעי דעת of the blowing of the shofar. באור פניך יהלכו. They will walk in the light of your face. Okay, this is the verse that we read from Psalm 89 when we blow the shofar on Rosh Hashanah. What's the connection? Very simple. What is the purpose of the blowing of the shofar? The purpose of the blowing of the shofar Rosh Hashanah is to take all the judgments that we accumulated in the previous year and all the judgments we did not sweeten and transform during the last year, and sweeten them now with the blowing of the shofar. However, Ashrei Ha'am Yod'ei Tuah, says the Zohar. Who is happy? Who is praiseworthy? Who is in a state of mind of happy excitement about life? The ones who know, who have the da'at. If you don't have da'at, the blowing of the shofar would not help you, says the Zohar. And the Zohar says something, and we'll continue. I'll continue the reading. Kamay tzarchu bnei nasha, lemeach ba'achei dekutcha brichu, ולמיתר פיקודי אורייתא, בגין דזקון בה לעלמא דעתי, ולשזבלון מכל קטרוגין דעילה ותתא, בגין דהקמאי תשכחו מקטרגין בעלמא לתתא, הכי נמי ישתכחו מקטרגין לעילה דקיימי עלי ובני נשה. Translation. People need or must walk on the ways of the Holy Blessed Be. And that means observe consciousness, observe the mitzvot of the Torah. Okay? Observing the mitzvot of the Torah, we learned about it in the previous week, that observing the mitzvot of the Torah is bringing the da'at into your body. which means into the organs and the sinews and so on. Every mitzvah, again, as I explained before. כדי שיזכו על ידה בעולם הבא. By doing that, when we have the da'at, you can see the world to come, but in Hebrew it says, Olam haba, the world that is coming. It's coming at us all the time. We need to welcome it. And then we can draw it into everything we do. Business, relationship, family, everything we do. If we do not, that's why there are mitzvot that are connected to everything we do. So when it says do not steal or do not kill or appreciate and thank God, you know, those are mitzvot that apply to all human beings, to Noahites and Jews and so on, with the way that I'm doing it in order to bring in God's light into this physical world. I'm not doing it just because, oh, it's honest and it's polite to do it. No, it's a magical thing to bring in God's light into this world. When we do that and we bring the world to come into everything we do, כי כמו שיש מסתינים בעולם למטה, כן נמצאים מסתינים למעלה. The same way, there is Satan on our way in everything we do. You know, whatever project you do, whatever business you do, there are always obstacles. That's called Satan. Obstacles. Satan means in Hebrew, obstacles. Same way there are obstacles below, there are obstacles above. And they are there to disturb, they are there to delay, they are there to block. Those people who follow the mitzvot of the Torah and they go on a straight road, BeYirat Adonam, with having the awe of their master, which means, what does it mean awe? It's again awareness. It's intrinsic part of that. If you awe is awareness, awesome, okay? Having awareness is part of it. If you have that, by having that awareness of awe, of the endless light of God, that you are, as a human being, you are the only one. God cannot, in the game of this life, God cannot force himself into the physical objects. He gave that to us. It's like we are subcontractors of the Creator in bringing the holiness into everything we do, and by this, to sanctify this physical reality. When we do that, we create angels, say the Zohar, that protect us. Okay? Those angels, they redeem us from slavery. Who created the angels? We did. And therefore, when it says so, the Zohar continues. I skip a little bit. I'm jumping now to verse 7 from verse 2. When we do actions that are not good, says the Zohar, שישראל עושים מעשים שאינם טובים, כביכול מחלישים כוח הקדוש ברוך הוא. When we are not behaving properly, then it's like we are weakening the power of God. Can we weaken the power of God? In the big picture, no. But in this physical world, yes. When we block God's light and its flow to this world, in our consciousness, when we're lacking the da'at, then we go around and where is God? Where is justice? You know, this when you have no da'at, you're always blaming God, upset about God. How come he's not taking control over what's going on over here? How come the wicked are winning in all kinds of battles? How come the bad stuff is happening? Where is God? Who does that? Human beings. The moment we do not have that, the moment we do actions that are negative, we weaken the flow of the light of God into this physical reality. Okay? So, and when it says "Nu Oz leElohim," this is another verse that is connected to the shofar blowing. We'll learn about it. We'll learn about the shofar. Okay, I can't find that verse. Okay, but that's from Moses, from Psalms. How, which means no oz le'Elohim, no means give. Oz, power, le'Elohim, God. Give power to God. We need to give power to God. The Zohar is asking, how do we give power to God? B'ma'asim tovim, with good deeds, with a good dad. And therefore, when we blow the shofar, when we do all kinds of other actions, that those actions are focused on with the right dad to bring positivity, to transform negativity knowingly, with awe and awareness that this is our job. Our job is not to react to negativity and to injustice. Our job is to transform and to sweeten the judgments. When we know that, we give power to God where? In this plane. We allow that light, that power to manifest and overcome the illusion of this physical world. Now, and that leads us to what we just read in the beginning of the Parashat Bo. All of that was just an introduction to this verse. The Zohar is, I'm jumping right now to verse 36 in the Zohar HaSulam. Amar Rabbi Shimon, hashta it legala razim. So now, Rabbi Shimon, it's time to reveal secrets. These are secrets that connect or attach to above and below. Maktiv, Boel Paro. What does it say? Come to Pharaoh. Lechel Paro mi ba'elei. It should be say, go to Pharaoh. What does it mean, come to Pharaoh? My bo. Ela de'ae lei kutsha brichu idarin batar idarin. לגבי תנינה חדה הילאה תקיפה, דחמה דרגין משתלשלין מיני, ומני הוא רזה דתנין הגדול. Translation. Moses needed to reach another place, higher level. The first 7 plagues were related to the 7 lower Sefirot. Again, when we read Genesis chapter 1, it says over there 10 times, and God said, let there be, which means, be'asara ma'amarot nivra olam. It's a very famous expression. God created the universe with 10 sayings. How could he speak? Does he have a mouth? Was there air? At that time, we're talking just in the beginning. There was nothing. So when we say sayings, we mean statement. And I explained it many times, a statement doesn't have to be words. An architect builds a building, it's a statement. An artist, he makes a painting or a sculpture, that's a statement. He wants to deliver some energy, some feeling. Okay, God's delivering is the 10 Sefirot, 10 illuminations. Okay, the world was created with 10 illuminations, 10 Sefirot, shining lights. Sefirot, Sephirah comes from the word sapphire. Sapphire is from the Hebrew word sapir, a shining stone. You know, the stone sapphire, it's from Hebrew. Okay, sapphire is a shining stone. To shine. Now, because of the sin of Adam and all the generations, especially Egypt till that time, all of those illuminations, the 10 Sefirot, were blocked. People could not see. They could see only evil, fear, and negativity. There was no hope. And when there's no hope, it's tyranny. Then it's okay to abuse other people's rights, to steal, to murder, to kill, to, all kinds of abuse that humanity is very good at in the last few thousand years. Now, when you don't have that, everything is possible. When you have that, you don't even think about hurting somebody else. Why, you're crazy. If you hurt somebody else, you hurt your soul. You hurt the whole matrix of the creation. And that means pain to your soul. How would you do that? What the sages are saying, why would somebody commit a crime? It has to be that an evil spirit walked into him, okay? Because if you are having that, there's no way you're going to hurt somebody, steal or kill or something like this. It's impossible. How could you do that? Okay? As long as you have the awareness. Now, after the 10 plagues were there in order to remove all the dirt, the judgment, the negativity that has been accumulated by humans for thousands of years and blocked the flow of light that the Creator injected to the universe. The first 7 plagues, we read about in Parashat VaEra, last week's parasha. That was the removal of this lower 7 Sephirot. But whoever studies Kabbalah knows that the upper 3 Sephirot, they are the powerhouse. They're the strongest. And when they are reaching that place of dealing with the upper 3 Sephirot, Moses was afraid. So the word Bo, come, has few meanings. One is come to Pharaoh, which means get into him. But Bo also, we know that Hebrew letters are numbers, also numbers. Every Israeli kid knows that the letters are numbers. Okay, Bo is the number 3. Bet Aleph is 3. The upper 3 Sfirot, the upper 3 plagues. The plague that correspond to Binah, Chokhmah, and Keter. Okay, these upper 3, we are dealing with them, and Moses was afraid because the lower 7 were not so intense. The upper 3 are the most intense. This is the core. And therefore, the Zohar says, in order to blow the upper 3, Moses had to go deep inside to the big reptile, okay, the big alligator that was Pharaoh, which means to reach the source, the core of negativity of all of humanity. Moses was afraid, says the Zohar. So what is God doing? He's saying to Moses, come to Pharaoh. You're afraid? Come with me. Let's do it together. Don't be afraid. The Zohar continues. Moshe was afraid of him. Kevan, 38. Kevan שראה הקדוש ברוך הוא שמשה ירא. Since God saw that Moses was afraid, ושלוחים ממונים אחרים למעלה לא יוכלו לקרב אליו. And there were no angels who can really reach that deep into like the darkest of the all darkest. Okay? אמר הקדוש ברוך הוא, so God said to Moses, הנני עליך פרעה מלך מצרים מתנים הגדול הרובץ בתוך יאוריו. This is from the book of Ezekiel, chapter 29. Here I am upon you, Pharaoh, the king of Egypt, the big alligator that is sitting in his Niles. God had to do the work with him. However, God could not do the work only by himself. Remember, in this world, you need human activity in order to make change in this world. So God used Moses and he said, come to Pharaoh. Come, let's go. Let's come together. Let's do that. But, when a father and his child, the child he needs to go and do something. He's afraid. Dad, I can't. I'm afraid. I don't know how. Bo na'aseh biyachad. Let's do it together. In Hebrew, it's bo. What does that mean? We all need to face, sooner or later, to face Pharaoh. We all have this Pharaoh. It's not a little Pharaoh. It's a big one, sitting inside us. And that Pharaoh is the dark Lord that enslaves us. This is the one who forces us to be enslaved to fear, to all kinds of logic that blocks us, as I spoke before. There's no way we can fight him on our own. Again, in the prayers of Rosh Hashanah, when we say, God, please forgive us, please cleanse us, please remove all our darkness away so we can live. And then we say, it's written in the prayers of Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. We could have said, we could have promised that we will never go with the dark side, our dark side again. But he is made of fire and we are flesh and blood. We are not even a match. How can we really guarantee that we win against our own Pharaoh? And the answer is we cannot. Only when we come with God. It's like, Dad, come with me. Bo el Paro. Only when we when we go to fight our own dark Pharaoh, only when we bring God with us, only when I go with my Father in heaven, and I feel that I'm with him, and I bring in all his light to fight my own Pharaoh, only then I have a chance to win. Otherwise, if I'm trying to do it by myself, forget it. You'll never be able. Moses couldn't do that. Moses, with all his great wisdom, with all his great skills, with all his experience. Finally, Moses is the one that led the Israelites out of Egypt. He is the one that brought them to Mount Sinai. He was afraid to do it by himself, that God said, let's do it together. The message is for us. You really want to fight your true, real enemy. Our enemies are not human beings and not viruses and nothing else. Our enemy is one, our own internal Pharaoh. Without bringing in God's light, without inviting God, without walking with him into that darkness, there's no way we can fight any of our real problems. And that is called da'at again. It's again a consciousness. I'm not doing it alone. And it's not, but God, if he doesn't want to do it with me. God never says no. God is endless. No and endless is, God is only giving. The moment, it's only about us. The moment we say yes, the moment we bring him into the fight, only then we can win. Now, how is that connected to our days? We can just skip a little bit to the last plague. And over there, we have the 10th plague. Just to remind you all, we are still in a plague. They call it the corona. Corona means Keter, okay? The crown. The 10th plague, guess what Sephirah is the 10th plague against? Sfirat Keter, the corona. And here we read something amazing. As the Zohar speaks about it, I'm reading right now in the Zohar of Parashat Bo, Perush HaSulam, verse 82. Od amar Rabbi Abba, Hegavna dishma kadisha, hey avadu be'ahu sha'ata. Ma yishma kadisha itchazar be'ahi sha'ata dina, ופך יתחזר הידמה בהי שעתה דינה. דכתיב וראה את אדם על המשקוף, ועל שתי המזוזות, רשימה דחולוס ומכה, יתחזר דהיתחזר בדינה למעבד נוקמין. And the whole Zohar is, in the next few verses, is going to an amazing explanation about how the whole thing about dealing with the 10th plague was about the secret of how we, humanity, can deal with the corona plague. Very simple. It says very clearly, what did the Israelites do in order to protect themselves from the 10th plague? They took the blood. Which blood? The Zohar says there are two bloods involved on that day. There is the blood that everybody knows about, the blood of the slaughtered lamb. Okay, but there was another blood. Most of the Israelites, except from the Levites, were not circumcised during the slavery. They were oppressed. They could not do anything. They're not on their own. So as they slaughtered the lambs, they also circumcised the men. They took the blood of the circumcision with the blood of the lamb, mix it together, and that blood, they put it on the doorpost and the two sides in the shape of the Hebrew letter Hey. How does the Hebrew letter Hey look like? If you put the blood on all the posts of the door on the top and on the side, and then part of the other side, which means the left side, the whole right side, the whole top side, you get the Hebrew letter Hey. And the Hebrew letter Hey, says the Zohar, it's also a holy name of God. You know, when you write Hebrew and you want to say God, but you don't want to write the whole word, you write Hey. The letter Hey. The letter Hey is God. The letter Hey is protection. The letter Hey is also the number 5. 5, that's the secret of Hamsa. Hamsa, 5. Okay? That's why the original Jewish Hamsa, 5 fingers, had a letter Hey on them. Then, the Muslims took it and used it as their own symbol again for protection. But how the protection? The protection is when they took the blood of the lamb, which is judgment, and the blood of the circumcision, which is mercy, says the Zohar, mixed them together, and now they had the da'at of redemption, which means the first plague, the 10th plague, killed the firstborns of Egypt. The firstborns of Egypt, they were raised to be the priests, the wizards, the magicians, the kings. Everything was based on the firstborns. When they were killed, nothing was left. Egypt has been brought to its knees. Okay? What happens to the Israelites? The Zohar says that they were healed from the circumcision. Remember, the next morning they got out and started to walk. How could you walk straight for 6 days till they came to the Red Sea if they were just circumcised? The same power that destroyed and killed Egypt healed the Israelites. The word for that, to plague, is ingof, nagif, negef, magefa. It's all conjugations of the word plague, which means we are, as humanity, we're experiencing right now, again, the year 2022, or basically 5782. We're in the second year already. We're approaching the second year of the corona. And it's now pandemic like never before. The whole world is involved with that. However, that plague, if we bring in that protection, why the hay is protection? Because as Zohar says, you see there are 3 columns, 3 lines in the letter hay. There's right, left, and center column, which is chesed, loving kindness, judgment, overpowering, overcoming, controlling, okay, with excitement, and the balance between the 2, right, left, and center column. If we connect to that in our everyday life with the right dot, what is that? That is the connection between the chasadim that come from Chokhmah and the dinim, chasadim, loving kindness, that come from Chokhmah, with the judgment, okay, that are coming from Binah. When they come and join together, you have Da'at. And that Da'at is that force. When you have that force of awe, of respect to the rules of the Creator, that consciousness that sees God in the details and in the bigger picture, as we learned in the previous week, the plague will heal you. At the same time, for the Egyptians, that was the biggest disaster that ever happened to them. So what's happening around us, it can heal some people and can destroy other kind of people. We have the choice. Who do we want to be? The Israelites have been redeemed at that day. A nation was born. A nation was born, but it was not just a nation. It was consciousness. It's a nation of Israel. Israel is a consciousness. What is, again, that? What is the hay? The hay is right, left, and center. What's right and left and center? That's symbolically Abram, chesed, loving kindness, Isaac, Gevurah, judgment, and Yaakov, tiferet. How is that connected to Israel? So the sages teach us. In the word Yisrael, you have Aleph for Abraham and Sin, the letter Sin for Sarah. You have Yud for Yitzchak and you have Reish for Rivka. You have Yud for Yaakov, Reish for Rachel, and Lamed for Leah. These are the Yud, Sin, Reish, Aleph, Lamed of the word Israel. When you connect to that consciousness of Israel, that's that. Real, true Israel is that. When you connect to that consciousness, then all the plagues heal you. When people that are sticking to negativity, they being plagued. So the question is not if there is a plague or not. The question is, do you connect to that? If you connect to that, then it will heal you. If you're not connected to that, then it will destroy you because you are siding with Egypt. All the Jews, all the children of Jacob, all the children of Israel, the nationality that were in Egypt have been redeemed? No. The sages are saying a lot of them didn't make it. They died, they were plagued with the Egyptians. Why? Because they sided with they assimilated in their consciousness, in their state of mind. They did not see the miracles. They saw witchcraft. They saw witchcraft, wizard war between Moses and Aaron and Pharaoh and his wizards. They didn't see miracles. They didn't see God's working. Which side do you want to be with? Especially right now, when the world is getting more and more united, the global village is getting so small and so connected. And we all affect each other. And we all have to stick to the dot in order that what's happening around the world will heal us instead of plague us, our choice. Thank you so much. And have an amazing week. And Chodesh Tov, the month of Shvat, Aquarius, the age of Aquarius, we're just starting that.